And she said it was a time machine. Ah, young me from 15 years ago. You remain correct. This is one of the strangest pieces Chopin has ever written. Let's count the waves. It's super slow, but we're somehow supposed to play it in half time. It's got these long pauses that threaten to disrupt the pulse. It's got a almost creepy theme that is buried as an inner voice in the left hand. And last but not least, it's written in A minor, but I mean, I'm looking at the page over here and I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say like half the notes have accidentals on them. But fret not, there is a method to the madness, and I will demystify this piece for you. First and foremost, really foremost, is to find the pulse. We want to feel that halftime pulse. What does that mean? Well, we have 8/8 notes for every measure, and it certainly does not mean to plod along emphasizing every single eighth note. So we really should not be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. We also don't want to play in common time with 4 beats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Halftime means, kind of in the name already, that we want to feel 2 beats. So the pulse is like a heavy down and a light up. A 1 and a 2. It's usually something we see in faster pieces, usually much more danceable pieces. If you're playing pretty fast, you can really feel that difference between the heavy 1 and the light 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. But if you're playing very slowly, it's hard to feel that difference between that 1 and the 2, the heavy and the light. By the time you reach that halfway point to the 2, you've kind of forgotten where you're from. So if you were to play this at like a real snail's pace, like 1 and 2 E. I mean, we hit that 2 over there, but the relationship between the middle, the half, was kind of lost because it was so far away from the beginning, from the 1. So there is like a lower limit on how slow you can take the piece. And this is really the biggest musical difficulty here, is to maintain that halftime pulse. Again, feel a 1 and a 2 and a 1 at a slow pace. How do we do that? Well, with difficulty, it is very hard. I'm still working on it. I think just all your life you could be working on it. My suggestion is the following. Don't worry, don't fret too much about what your left hand is going to do to maintain that pulse. Whether you like accent certain notes, whether you like crescendo and volume and decrescendo, don't worry too much about that. First and foremost, before you even touch the piano, need to feel that halftime pulse slowly. So I recommend, literally verbalizing and feeling 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and That was pretty fast. We can surprisingly go much slower than that. Let's try that. Again, let's feel the pulse. That's what's most important, is for you to feel it. To the very depths of your soul, of your bones, to feel that pulse. And then what the hand is going to do to realize that pulse is going to come almost automatically. So let's try that. Let's go even slower. Boom. That's the up to down and up and down. See, I don't know how I transmitted it, but at least for me, and that's what's most important, I did feel that halftime pulse and I was able to hold on to it. And then the hands kind of realized it almost automatically. Usually what they're going to do is you're going to emphasize the 1 and the 2. 1 Another common way that the hands will usually realize this pulse might be with like crescendo, decrescendo, and volume. You could start like piano, 1, and get louder, and then at the top of the crest, fall back down. That was the 1. We go back louder to the 2, and then we fall back down. But again, for the third time, feel the pulse. You need to feel that halftime pulse and really just feel it. I'm repeating myself a lot. And it will be realized in the hands more or less automatically. But hold on to it. Play the entire piece with the melody and this theme, trying to feel and hold on to that pulse. If you can do that, you have pretty much unlocked the piece. That is by far the most important thing, by far the most difficult. The rest is window dressing. So let's talk about that window dressing. There is a big technical hurdle in this piece, and unfortunately it's precisely in the left hand that's supposed to also hold on to this halftime pulse. So not only is it difficult musically to keep the rhythm going, you've got this, not blockade, this like a hurdle that there's a technical part in there as well. The problem is, you need to play this theme accompanied with another voice. Like I said, the theme is an inner voice, and the outer voice does this. It is difficult to do this for a number of reasons. First of all, you need to have some pretty long stretches over here. Like here, I'm playing an octave with a 1 and a 4. There are times when I need to play almost an octave with a 1 and a 3. This is very difficult. I mean, thoughts and prayers for pianists with small hands. It is possible to do this, it just gets that much more difficult. I'm reminded of Charles Rosen, who is a really good pianist, and he wrote a great book called Piano Notes, I believe, from like late 90s, early 2000s. If you're interested in the classical tradition, I highly recommend it. And he said that there are a lot of great pianists who can barely reach an octave with 1 and 5, but they make it work. They find all sorts of tricks they can use to make things work. But it is difficult. So I'm gonna assume you can, for example, play an octave with a 1 and a 4 here. So that's one difficulty, that you need to have these long stretches. The other difficulty is balancing the inner voice with the outer voice. It's true that this inner voice is the theme, so it is really what you want to focus on, what you want to bring out, play a little bit louder, but you don't want to skimp on these outer voices. These outer notes over here, as we'll see later on, are what really ground the harmony. They really give us the chords to this weird chromatic piece. So you don't want to be playing like this where you barely hear that outer voice and the inner voice dominates. But again, the inner voice is the theme, so you don't want to do the opposite way. You don't want to just hear the outer voice. So balancing these two voices is already pretty hard, but then you have to do that while you have these big stretches and trying to hold on to that slow halftime pulse. Very difficult. My tip for practicing this is, it's pretty straightforward. It's really not much of a secret. Play the inner voice legato. I mean, that inner voice legato is what gives the pulse. It's doo-doo-doo. It's like a motor, okay? So try to hold on to that motor, but play the outer voices staccato. Again, don't skimp on them. Really play them loudly so you can hear them. But make sure that whatever you do, you hold on to this legato inner voice. That's the main tip. It's basically like going to the gym and you're working on doing these stretches. That's really all you're doing, getting your hand used to having these wide stretches. Also notice one thing, that when I have the outer voice here in the pinky, my hand is kind of pointing to that direction. When I go here, I move the hand in this direction. Back like this, back like this. Bum, 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 bum. I'm exaggerating over here. When you play it in tempo, it will be a little more subtle, but this is a motion that you're going to have to do unless you have just a gigantic hand that can reach these big spans. I don't. Chopin might have. It's been said that Chopin's hands weren't particularly big, but what is the expression they use? When he opened up his hands, it was like the jaws of a serpent opening up and taking in like a third of the piano. But I certainly can't, I cannot do that, especially some of these stretches. So I need to position my hand in such a way that I can comfortably reach these spans. So that's really my only tip. Work on expanding your hand and keeping this theme nice and legato. One more note on this is the pedal. I do suggest using the pedal, even though Chopin there's no pedal markings over here, with one tiny exception. But I think that if you don't use the pedal, you risk that outer voice being way too disjointed. It'll sound too much like this. Where's that outer voice? You barely hear it. With the pedal, you can hold on to that outer voice a little bit more, and the harmony is sustained much better. So I do suggest using a pedal. Use a light touch. You definitely don't want to start bleeding together these this chromatic theme. So use a light touch for the pedal, but I do suggest using it so that the outer voice is not so disjointed. Okay, we are almost there to talk about the harmony. That was the technical part. I skipped over one brief thing. We're talking about the pulse. We have these long pauses that I mentioned, so let's go back to that just briefly. Sustaining the pulse during these long pauses is not that difficult. In fact, it's not much of a trick at all. You just need to keep hearing in your mind's ear this theme, this boo-doo-doo-doon, up, doo-doon, and down. Keep that in your mind as you have the pauses. So for example, when you do the and then when everything dies out, that's really all there is to it. You just need to keep that motor running even when it stops. Hear it in your mind's ear, and you won't lose the pulse. Okay, so that was it for the musical difficulty of the piece, the technical difficulty. Let's talk about the difficulty of learning it, how you can make sense of all of these accidentals. It is really not that hard. Let me prove that to you. If I were just to play to you like this, what would you say? That's not strange at all. That's actually very straightforward. We're in the key of G. I don't know how we're in the key of G because this is written in A minor, but whatever. We're in the key of G. And we start with E minor. That's the 6th chord. We go to the 1. And then we go to the 5. This is D major. It is a suspension. It's a sus4 because you see we have a G instead of an F sharp. We resolve the suspension. And D major, the 5 naturally resolves to G major. Could not be more straightforward. And in fact, if you look at the left hand and you ignore this chromatic, the second note that's chromatic, and you take a look at the rest of the notes, what do you have here? This is just an E minor chord. In the next measure, again, ignore this second note, this weird chromatic note, and what you're left with is a G major. If you just keep applying this idea of ignoring this second note over here and looking at the rest of the notes, what do I have here? Well, this is our D sus4, which resolves to a D major, and we go resolve to G major. Very, very straightforward. In the next section, we do the exact same thing, except now we're in the key of D instead of G. Again, I don't know how we modulated from G major to D major, but whatever, we did. In the key of D major, our sixth chord is B minor, and sure enough, that's what we have here. That's B minor. We go to the one chord, D major. What's the 5 of D major? It's A major, but we do it in the sus variant. We resolve the sus, and A major resolves to D major. With one exception. This is Chopin, so in Chopin, never resolve. Always try to trick people. So instead of resolving to D major, Chopin decides to resolve to this strange chord, this D sharp. It's a D sharp half diminished. I don't know where he chose it, where he pulled it from. I think it kind of makes sense because the melody moves to this F sharp, which is part of the D sharp chord. I guess he was like, okay, A major resolves to D major. Let me raise the root a half step to D sharp, just to make it weird. And sure enough, it is very weird. But once we're here on this D sharp diminished seventh, half diminished, excuse me, this is where things do start to get a little wonky. But again, follow that pattern of ignoring that second chromatic note and looking at the rest of the notes, and you will find a chord that is quite straightforward. So what Chopin does after this D sharp half diminished, he takes the C sharp and moves it down to a C natural. So now we have a D sharp diminished seventh. And then in the next measure, the one where he moves this to with an F sharp in the bass, this is the same exact chord. Same exact chord is just a different inversion. And what follows now is one of the coolest harmonic changes. I mean, I rag on Chopin a lot, but I don't know why. I do like Chopin. I admit it, I do like Chopin. So this is one of the really coolest things Chopin has done, where from this F sharp diminished seventh chord, we're going to kind of resolve to an A minor, and he goes like this from here. This is like an F7 flat 5, right? We got an F major, F7, flat the 5. So, and now we've landed in A minor, which is our home key. Very cool, very, very cool. The rest is pretty straightforward. I'll let you go through it. But that is the secret. You can really see the harmony and the chords in this piece as long as you just ignore that second chromatic note and look at the rest of the notes in the left hand. Okay, hopefully that will help you memorize the piece. Once I realized that, everything really just fell into place. I no longer would forget all of the... I just felt like I had random moments where a note would change. But once you see this harmony, it really falls into place. Okay, let's try to play this piece, this very beautiful, strange, oddly difficult piece. Let me take a sip of coffee first.